For 3 weeks, we watched thousands of blister beetles march through our garden, gathering in huge numbers and devouring vegetables we had worked for months to grow. But the beetles were only part of the problem. Flea beetles were attacking other crops, locusts were causing destruction nearby, and then a severe attack of gout left me barely able to walk when the garden needed me most. We managed to rescue the tomatoes, but this experience has forced me to confront a much bigger question. Can we carry on gardening on this scale, or is it finally time to downsize? This is the story of what happened, what we did to limit the losses, and what it may mean for the future of our garden. It's by no means a polished blockbuster movie from Netflix. The idea is to show you real life here and the difficult choices we sometimes have to face.
Now, in the last video, I mentioned that I had an issue with an attack of gout. Well, bloody hell. It was one heck of an attack. Now, we're heading up into the veggie patch because in a minute after this kind of brief introduction, you're going to be hearing about all sorts of things that have been going on. But my attack of gout ended up being in my knee, and the part of that problem is because you recall last year when the well ran dry, I may have mentioned that I fell down the hole. I never went and got it checked out. As it turns out, I didn't damage anything severely, broken bones or anything like that, but what it did do was give me a kind of, I don't really know what the word is, but it weakened my left knee. And so a couple of weeks or so ago, I got a bashing of gout, and instead of going into the toilet it would normally do, it went into my knee. Now that restricted my movement quite considerably and stopped me getting out into the garden. And because of that, watch this video next, because it really has taken its toll on the whole space. Okay, I'm recording this exactly as I see it. Now, the first thing I want you to just pay attention to is the fact that I'm letting this go as close to nature as I can. So this back area here, it's more woodlandy, shall we say. These acacias, as they're known, I've just let them grow because they've just sprouted up. But what I have done is I've dropped in little pools of water for the birds, and there's plenty in here. There's one there, there's another one to the background. I've even got a pheasant in here somewhere, and I'm chucking a bit of food down for them all. The idea was I wanted them to eat the pests. But this particular pest we got yesterday, nothing wants it, because it is not a pleasant thing to be eating or engaging with. So that's where we're heading. What are we going to find? My biggest concern with this is the damage it could do to other crops. Now, I've deliberately left things in here. I use weeds as a way of helping me protect other crops, or I'll harvest the weeds to make weed teas. But the stuff that these guys were after yesterday, and I can see activity, they're after this stuff here. I'll get a close-up. That is red root amaranth, and you can see that there's some leaf damage on that. There is one of the guys. He's just waking up. And as you come around this side here, look at that. That is just, they've scoffed all that. And what I'm wanting to do is just to make sure they do stay on this stuff. Now, if we come over into this particular bed here, this has gone a little bit crazy, and you might think I'm mad. Now again, look, there's some red root amaranth there. Also known here as pigweed. And I've got a thistle in there, but the thing is, I've done this before, been quite successful. Then amongst all this, I've got melons trailing. Now you might think I'm mad, but I'm using the weeds to protect the fruits from this sun. So 7 o'clock in the morning and already it's feeling quite warm. But I've got a lot of lamb's quartering. I have got a bit of amaranth in there. And I don't know whether those guys are going to want to come in this direction. But they started in this particular bed yesterday. And I can still see them in there. I want to be really careful. I don't want to be stepping on these things because blister beetles, as the name suggests, if you crack them open, you get their insides on your skin, you get a blister. So I want to be really careful about where I'm stepping. So from a distance, I can actually see. It's very hard for the camera to pick up, but I can actually see activity. Get as close as they're not on the grass paths. They're only in these beds. They only seem to be feeding. I'm going to get close up in a second on this amaranth. But this is a bed of brassicas, and in the space of 3 days, these brassicas got absolutely mullered by flea beetle, and there's been a big problem with flea beetles here. Now let's get a close up of these guys. You can see them there, look, moving around. There's thousands in here, and you can see all the plant material. Yeah, they're climbing across the purslane. It's absolutely full, solid of these things. I've never seen anything like it. But look at the damage on the brassicas. That's the flea beetle. They just actually wiped through here in less than 12 hours. And as I say, in the whole area, we've had big problems with them. But these guys, they seem to be migrating. They're not feeding. So maybe they're just waking up. I don't know. But you can see there, they are feeding on that. Now, let's go across to this bed. So they don't seem to be, like I say, in the grass paths. I've got to be careful. I want to make sure that they stay on the amaranth. Apparently they're attracted to potatoes. Now you see again here, look, this is a great example. Look how they're destroying the leaves on this amaranth here. Now they are on some of these brassicas. Look at, there's loads of them. They don't seem to be eating the brassicas. Having said that, the flea beetles look like they've already done that. It's not too late for me to be planting more brassicas. You see, the flea beetles just took these out. It's just a massive infestation in one very short period of time. I did spray them with the solution that I use, and yeah, sure enough, it killed them, but it hasn't done them any favours. It doesn't the plants any favours. I might be able to rescue one or two, but I'm not holding out much hope. But I've got enough time to resow. Now, I hesitated there because I heard something move, but it could be next door's livestock. Anyway, I told you I'd film it as I'm seeing it. And there's the other damage. Get out of the way of the sun and my shadow. And you can see here how the flea beetles just literally just came through here. This was done literally in less than 12 hours. I whacked through here like crazy. There's the kohlrabis. You can see they've taken off the leaves of those guys. But I got some kohlrabis to harvest, so we'll get those out, get this bed prepped. I don't know, I might leave it fallow. These 3 beds here I've dressed with or mulched with sheep manure and straw. Need to do some more because I've got some grass going through there, and they're fallow now until next year, but I'm going to be covering them actually with a tarp. But back to these guys, so I want to make sure that they stay there in this area, so I've got quite a big space. Okay, so you eat the amaranth, so I don't mind so much, but what I don't want them to do is to go onto the tomatoes, so we need to go and check. So we'll walk up to the tomatoes, and as we do that, I'll have a quick scoot. What I might actually do is, where I've got, if I've got any amaranth, I've got a little bit there, I might just cut that down. These are the cucumbers, and they're beginning to move up the side of that frame there. They call it the cage. That's good. We've actually got to go on a family do today, so I'm not going to be doing much in the garden. Talking of wildlife, behind these trees here we've got a field of oats. They're quite dry, probably ready for harvest, and so if I get a deer moving around it seems quite loud. Anyway, head over towards these tomatoes. Still got a bit of an issue with my leg. The ground is plenty of moisture in the ground, so the tomatoes look to be okay. We need to tie these up a little bit. We did have some pepper plants in this particular bay, but somebody came and did some weeding the other day. Not guilty, somebody else. Now we've only got 3. But we still got the peppers here. We've got some tomatoes coming. I'm just double checking to make sure that those beetles are not, or haven't migrated over to here, and they haven't so far. So, okay. Basically the job for this weekend, apart from monitoring the these blister beetles, is to get some tidying up done. So it's 24 hours later and different weather. A bit breezy today. And this is this first bed from yesterday. And again, there's the damage. But I can't see much. In the way of activity. It doesn't seem to be. They seem to have gone. Let's get a close up into there. Look, you can see there's the amaranth. I haven't touched the purslane, they've just been walking across it, but all the amaranth here, look, there's again there. Not taking the seed heads, just the leaves. Done a very good job of stripping it out, I've got to say. And this bed of brassicas is absolutely, that's it, knackered now, isn't it? But look at that amaranth over there. The way they've just gone through those is incredible. We'll get a close up in a minute when we go around that side, but there's no beetles here. And we come into this section here. Now this is also amaranth, and it's in the same bed. But if you look closely, they've actually taken the leaves off the lamb's quarter, but not so much the amaranth. So it looks like they, okay. Now I get a close up and I've got a problem. Because here they are, they're in here. I knew it was too good to be true. So they are scoffing, with bad legs still. They are eating through the leaves of the beetroot. I was hoping that they wouldn't see the beetroot leaves, but they have. See if I can get in a bit closer. These, as soon as you disturb them, they fall to the ground. They're a bit like lily beetles. Watch this. Yeah, they just drop straight to the floor, so you can't see them. Let's try that again. I have no idea what the camera's going to do focus wise. They just literally drop to the ground, so you can't see them. Right, so they are now in the beetroot bed, but looking at the beetroots themselves, the beetroots look okay. They've grown. I'm coming up to this end, so these guys have been on these I mean, to this end. But I do have a stock of a crop of beetroots, but they're definitely in there. I mean, look at them. They are just absolutely everywhere. Look. Well, you don't need much imagination to realise that it's another day, because it's a bit brighter. How are we getting on with these blister beetles? Well, we walk up to the original beds. I say walk up, more like hobble. Again, you'll recognise these areas here by the damage to these amaranths, pigweeds, whatever you want to call them. I mean, there's no point me keep showing you this, but basically, have they gone? And the answer is no, not really. We can go across onto this. I've got some grasshoppers in there as usual. This bed does need some water, but I haven't really wanted to give it too much because of these beetles. And my biggest concern has been, do they migrate towards my tomatoes? So that's why I'm coming out every day. Now I've still got some here. Here they are. And what I have noticed, some of them fly and some of them go along the ground. But because of their colour, very hard to spot. But they're certainly in this bed as before. I've crashed through this one, as we know, and continue to do so. They've certainly eaten all the beetroot leaves. And over there are where my tomatoes are based. Now, what I am seeing, as I look on the ground, these guys, they run around quite fast. I don't even know if the camera's going to pick them up. But look, they're still on there. Have you noticed how they don't eat the flowers? Now, they're just having the leaves. And they're not just sticking to these guys. They're everywhere. They're eating anything. Can you see this? And I can see them crawling through. I can also see a wasp there. No, he's not interested in anything. But look, they are absolutely bloody everywhere. You wouldn't want to be walking around here barefoot, because as the name suggests, blister beetles are rather painful. So they're coming through here. They're all across this floor. They're all the way through there. They're going up through here and beyond. Now I'm going to walk in that direction because I don't really want to be stepping on these things. Let's just see if I come across any going up towards these cucumbers, because I want to check those cucumbers out. Now this is quite long grass. That's fairly short. That's the direction they seem to be going at the minute. But you've got to ask the question, haven't you? What's the bloody point? If I'm going to just do this for these little gits to come along and eat my crops, which is what they seem to be doing, I don't really get it. Now this is interesting. You've got a couple of these guys sitting on that brick. And there's one there having a bit of a sniff. Oh, God's sake. And here's why. Look. That's another amaranth. So they're on that. And these are our chili plants in here. Were. Looks like they're going to be getting all of them. You know something? I'd be surprised if I get anything left out of this. Oh, do you know, it really does kind of bleep you off. Put a lot of effort into this, and this is the reward you get. Look, I mean, they are spreading. There's no doubt about it. That is right next to our cucumbers. If I see any on there, I will be pretty upset. But those cucumbers are established, and there's not a lot I can really do about it. And now I can see something in there. Now, see if I can get in. So these beetles are getting close, you know. See, look, they're very close to this. That, I think they're on there. I'm using the camera. Yeah, they're in here. They're in here. Ah! Have I lost the cucumbers? Well, you know what I'm really not looking forward to doing? I don't know what I'm going to find when I get over there where the tomatoes are. Not sure if I want to. They are everywhere. I can see them from here. They're covering the whole bloody place. I'm not going to have anything left. It's so just soul destroying. I did this for nature, and this is what it pays me back with. Look. God, my language could be really. It ain't been a very good year, is it? The damage with the gout, they are everywhere. They are absolutely everywhere. Dodgy knees, and now these bastards. I might bleep that out, I might not. They are so close with tomatoes now. They're in here. What have we got through here? Yeah, look. When I get further down into this bed, they're certainly on the march. There's just like a walking invasion. I don't know if you can make. I've got to be so careful. I do not want to get any of these on me because it's going to be very painful. But they're throughout this line here, and they're going to. Oh look, they're already on that amaranth there, and just over there the tomato plants. I can't say anything on there at the minute, but they're coming. Now, I'm going to go around to the other bay, or bed rather. Let's come around to this side here. Look on the ground first. And can't really see much here. Don't appear to be on these toms at the moment, or these peppers. But they're not far away, are they? Let's go down the back of these guys. I want to double check. So like I say, they started right over there, and now they've come quite a long way. Oh well. Now that's interesting. Oh shit, I'm stood on them. There's loads of them here. Loads of them. Now they're gathering What are they gathering on? What are they feeding on? Look. I don't know what they're eating there. But I can't see them on these tomatoes. Oh, that's strange. That is strange. If you've got any ideas, I mean, I know this video seems a bit kind of, I don't know what the word is, but it's certainly not edited, as you can work out. But have you ever had anything like this before in your own garden? I mean, let me know. I can't figure it. I'm coming back to this plant here, and there's amaranth there. So they've been eating that, and some of it down through there. And they're walking along this pathway here. There's a few on the ground. They're going along. They don't seem to have gone to the tomatoes. Okay, at the moment, because I don't trust them. So we come across here, there's none in that. So they're in front of these trees here. These are field elms. Okay, and there's nothing really growing in there. I'm sorry about the wind. Can't do much about it. But I mean, look, you can see, like I say, that's full, right? So you come through here. And I'm looking on the ground. Okay. Now we've got a few on the ground here. And they're, so where are they going? They come onto this plant here. Look. So they're coming on there. They're in the grass, in between these trees. They're on dead grass. Look, see? They're walking along the ground, but I can't see a line as to where they're heading or migrating to. Okay, it's been a couple of weeks since we've had these blister beetles in the back garden, and you're going to be familiar with this pathway. But something really strange is happening in the garden at the moment. I'm going to get as close as I can, because perhaps the cavalry's arrived. Now, keep a lookout for what may happen. I'm walking very slowly. What we want to try and look at is beyond the yellow hose pipe that goes up into a sprinkler, up towards the back. Now, I'm filming nature as it happens. This may work, it may not. But basically, I'm beginning to get a large flock of starlings come into the garden. Now, they've been in the front field feeding on the locusts, and we've had a problem with locusts. There you go. Hopefully the camera's picked that up. And there they go. I don't know where they're going to settle. There's still quite a few there, but they're in the same location as the blister beetles. I'm saying same location. The irony of it is, it's the whole bloody garden. But here they come, they're coming back. There's something there that they want. But I know that I don't have locusts in here, but I do have those beetles, and they seem to be feeding on their location. I'm trying to be as quiet as I can because I don't really want to scare them off. Got quite a few there. So, bang up to date, here we are. I've cut all the grass through here, and I haven't decided quite what I'm going to do just yet. And I've really only got two things growing that I have the potential to harvest. We'll come to those tomatoes. In fact, we're near the tomatoes. We might as well go there now and have a look. You can see that the guy next door has cut all his oats, and So I had 2 rows of tomatoes, and you can see that row's gone. Wasn't eaten by the blister beetles. Hang on a second. Let's see what I think I can see. I think I can. Well, look at that. We missed a bit of a tomato. A tiny little. Bless them. Anyway, we had to take those out. I relocated those into the greenhouse, and we'll see those in a minute. But this side here, so this is how the invasion came across. But I sprayed these guys with neem oil, and the beetles got on there, but they didn't eat them. Same with these 2 pepper plants. So there we go. Now you might look at all these tomatoes and think, oh, you need to prune those, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not going to prune them at all. They grow like this in the wild. They can grow like this now. I've got a few on the floor that maybe I shouldn't do, but they're ripening. I want to harvest. And with what I've got left, every little counts. So I'm leaving those exactly as they are. Let's go and have a look at the cucumbers. Now the lady of the house has helped me out quite a bit here. She's actually tied them into this meshing. Now we have had a couple of little baby cucumbers coming off here. Let's look to see. We've got lots and lots of flowers and fruits behind the flowers. It's very difficult to try and look for them when you've only got one hand, but they are looking pretty healthy, I've got to say. So fingers crossed, we're going to get a good crop. You look at that video, these insects or beetles or whatever else, and the space, and it kind of makes me think maybe I need to slow it down a little bit, make it a little bit smaller. Now let's have a look at some of this damage, and you'll get an indication of what I mean. So that's the beetroot bed. Well, there's no leaves there, you can see, completely gone. And I left these weeds just to see what they would eat. Look at that. I mean, that's just bosh. I mean, I'm lucky. I've had flea beetles and these blister beetles, but family members and friends have had a swarm of locusts go through and eat absolutely everything in their space. And they're only a couple of kilometers away from me. So yeah, look, this is the damage. So no beetle harvesting from here this year. I'm still looking out, and this is all the flea beetles. Took out all the brassicas. Now, you know, I've got to decide what we're going to do with all this, how we're going to deal with it. I've stopped watering these sections here, so they're a little bit wilted, but you can see some of the damage that's been occurring recently in the last few days. These are more of your good guys, so I'm not so worried about those. Got plenty of those, but I've still got the baddies. So again, you know, through here, gosh, it's all the damage. So what have I done about it? Well, let me just show you another little section. It's got a little bit of progress. So like I say, it's not all doom and gloom. You've got to try and look on the bright side of things, haven't you? Look at this lavender. I mean, you know, I never prune it. I don't water it, very little water. But look at the flowers on it and look at the insects on there. Now I've got some really pretty little butterflies that are very difficult to catch on the camera. But I've also got some pretty nasty boys in here as well. You see if I can get a close-up of this fella, because one of these things bit me last year. Look at him. That is called a wasp orb, and he packs a punch. But there's plenty of things in there, isn't there? Look at that. In fact, I think there's another one of those things here. There is. Look, get a better picture of this one. Look at him. You don't want to get nipped by that. So what about the beetles? Where are they now? Well, they're in here. They are on, or they've been on, the beetroot leaves. There you go. You can make him out just about. There's a few in there that don't touch squash plants, for example. These zucchinis, I mean, they're desperate for a drink of water, which I'll put the taps on in a minute. And it's the same in this bed. You know, they do like leaves. I get that. So yeah, they made a right old mess. So I won't get anything out of those. Not too late for me to sow some more beetroots. Did you get the water on for this? So I should come back and do that. But yeah, that's what they've done. So a bit of a disaster, really. I'd say about 75% of our crops have gone this year. So it's a big knock. But I've still got chances to grow other things, and I'll show you that now. So I was really looking forward to a good crop of tomatoes this year. I was really excited about it. I've grown a load of different varieties from seed, and yeah, I was really, you know, pleased with the results of the germination, hoping that they were gonna, you know, and as you probably guessed from the tone of my voice on the unedited clips of me walking around the garden over a few days, a bit fed up when you nurture something from seed and they pot it on, get it out in the garden, and for some little git to come along and eat it all. It's a little bit annoying, but like I say, not all lost, because we've got the greenhouse. So let's have a peek inside there and I'll show you some of the things I've been up to. We pulled up all the tomatoes that we had in the first bed I showed you just now, got them into pots. I popped them into these trays so I can water them from below. Looking at all these guys, they weren't watered yesterday, so I need to get them a drink now. I'll do that when I finish this. And I'm trying to grow them up the front of the greenhouse, and I've had a bit of an idea, a bit of fun. See if I'm going to train them to go all the way across there. See how we do. And then I've got a load of them in here. So some of them were pretty badly battered, and they're taking a bit of a time to recover, but they're doing all right. They do all need a drink in here. I'm going to be doing that in just one sec. And something else I've done, I started some salad leaves, cut and come agains, and where we lost the brassicas, I've got a tray of broccolis there. Now I grew broccolis last August, or started them last August, and they grew okay. And the kind of temperature we're getting in a minute is 32 in the daytime, as you can see, and 16 at night, so it's not too bad. And that's a pretty view, isn't it? So I'm hoping all is not lost. But this last few weeks has shown me that maybe I need to rethink the space that we have here and look at reducing it for me as far as growing is concerned. Not only because of my ability to be able to move about, and not to say, well, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot of work to do for one geezer. And all the other space, what are we going to do with it? We've got a lot of it, as you can see. And when you look at the colour of that brown, to make that successful and viable requires a lot of water, and that's something we don't have. 0.4 mil of rain so far this month, so it's a challenge. And I've got to think about how I deal with it. So, yeah, organic growing, great. However, when you get beaten up by pests like we've just had, the flea beetles were controlled very quickly by the organic spray that I make. And I'll link the video about how you can do that in the description below. But these blister beetles, crow beetles, raven beetles, whatever you want to call them, well, there's something else. And the neem oil protected the tomatoes and perhaps would have protected other plants, but you can't stop their marching. And that's the biggest issue. So, you know, we keep going forward. I'm going to be adapting things, obviously, certainly for next season. And whatever I harvest, obviously, I'm going to update the app. Got to get that plugged in, haven't I? So, join me next time. Let's see how we get on. For now, take care. Catch you next time.